Hola buenos muchachos. Bienvenido al video de YouTube. Gracias por acompañarme hoy.
That's it. That's the video. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about Rosa's theme. How offensive is this bit even? Okay, this is a cover, which means unfortunately it will not be uploaded to the Spotify album. But I wanted to make this because for one I happen to have had the piano sheet music for this for many years. I was just kind of playing it and I was like, I really want to cover this. I had this idea of like I want to cover this with different sort of synthesizer keyboard instruments and sounds, you know. So there's like a synthesizer in this. There's an electric keyboard. There's various things. I was like, I really want to cover it to see what that sounds like because there's so much of this song that lends itself to a more rock and roll blues-ish kind of style, even though it's performed by like an orchestra, like originally. This is Rose's theme from Doctor Who, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. Yeah, and Rose is like my favorite companion from Doctor Who. Love Rose. The theme song she has is just damn beautiful. So I wanted to make it, and so I'm going to be talking about sort of how I made the choices I made. Now this is early 2022, I believe. Yeah, something like that. It was a bit over a year ago, and this was again still when I was putting up my microphone next to the speaker. So the quality is not as high as it otherwise would be, but I think it actually turned out really well. And this is also one of the few pieces that I recorded every part to without a metronome. I didn't use a metronome for any part of this at all. I just like used my own internal pulse, and I'm so happy with how well that turned out. So right away, I wanted to start off just sounding like the original version. I wanted to kind of start off with that sound because the way it begins with that string coming in on the I think it's like a G or something. Where string comes in and then the piano. It's just such a gorgeous opener, and the way it's just open fifths the entire way. That first those first notes, and so I wanted to mimic that and basically just repeat the original thing before then building off of it in my own way. So that first note, if you listen to that, that's just all open fists. It's all open, and yet you can like the way I've listened to this piece so much. I'm already conditioned to hear the tonality of it just based on that chord. It opens up on, I guess you could argue that's the dominant chord. Yeah, that first voicing, such a bold choice, but I just copied that straight up, and then it kind of you get more information as it goes along. And then you get more voices in the bottom. And so right there, that little transitory period between the different movements, and that's the main motif is that's the main motif of this whole piece. And so right there I was like, okay, I'm gonna have this little synthesizer on the bottom, and then I'm gonna bring in more mellotron strings on top. And so that's what I did, and then it's kind of opening up the way it'll sound, and then the piano comes back in after a second, or the piano in the bottom, and the bass comes in after a second. And then you have like a horn synthesizer coming in there, and that's an electric keyboard. So that main melody, what I had just happening right there, is I had it trade off between that high mellotron violin and then the mid voice sort of horn synthesizer. And I was like, that sounds like it'd be a cool way to interpret it, so that's what I did. And also that little electric keyboard bit in the middle where it sounds like kind of bluesy. I always like thought that part of it was like, that would just sound so good on electric keyboard, so that's what I did. And then here we're kind of in the end, sort of fading out of the piece. And that's it. And the ending there, I kind of interpreted like, it's not, originally it's just a minor chord. I was like, okay, I'm going to have it alternate between a minor chord and a minor 6 chord. And honestly, I think it kind of turned out a bit too proggy right there. Like, I probably should have just kept it the original. But I was like, I'm just going to give that a try. Because I would do it that way on piano and be like, I like the way that sounds. But yeah, that's about all I got to talk about with Rose's theme. There's not really a lot to it. So I also wanted to cover the other cover that I did. And I recorded this also using the microphone in front of the speaker. This was back, this is almost 2 years ago actually, back in 2021. And this was another experiment in just improvising over really basic chords, like in Green for Green. But also like in Green for Green, I wasn't really doing much counting. So the different chords last for different periods of time. There's not really consistency to it. But it was still a useful exercise for me. So here we go. And also, one thing I find funny about this sort of the ambience that's fading in is you just hear all the passersby. It's probably like a train station or something, I don't know. But if you listen to them, this is just a stock one I found on YouTube, but if you listen to the voices, if you listen closely, you can't tell what they're saying, but you can tell they're British, which is probably my biggest regret about this whole song right there. Like, specifically London, I think that was recorded in London. So that's just the main melody. That's the head of the tune, and it's beautiful chords because it's just a minor 1 to minor 5, or minor 7 1 to minor 7 5, and then up to flat minor 7 7 down to minor 7 4. So it's very simple. It's just 1 5 7 4, but it gives you so much room for modulation. It's like the most simple that you can make the blues, where instead of a 2 5 1, it's a you could think of it like a 2 6 1 or something like that. Yeah, it's just extraordinarily simple, but it still gives such an easy opportunity for modulation. So that's part of what made this such a good exercise. So that was one successful loop where I did 8 counts on each of the chords, and it worked. So that's one successful time. Let's see how many times I do that successfully. Okay, right there, I did that for 9 instead of 8, so that's immediately, that's a mistake. Because there's not really much else I can talk about. I can sort of bring up, this lick, that lick, whatever, that I was using. I was trying to experiment with using blues scales in this, with a lot of stuff. This was really one of the the things that helped me the most to understand how to improvise over any sort of changes, really. So this was a very helpful thing, especially with how much practice I was putting into this. Like, this was probably what informed most of my improvisational skills for like the next I don't know, maybe even until now. I don't know. That's my Is Raining Somewhere Else cover that I made a couple of years ago. This is just one of those songs that something about it, like a lot of the Undertale music is great. You know, the Undertale has such a great soundtrack, and there's like, I would honestly be somewhat interested in like making a video just diving into a lot of the leitmotifs that are in Undertale, and interpreting them and analyzing them and so on. I have a feeling that there are probably other YouTubers who have done that way better already, and I wouldn't want to do that unless I was confident I'd be bringing something new to the table. But it is an interest in mine, analyzing that soundtrack. But this piece in particular, which let me think. Yeah, this is a sad version of Sans' theme, is the idea. This piece in particular, I feel like out of all the songs in Undertale, this one has probably transcended the sort of the containment of just being a part of that game, where this is a song that like people will just unironically listen to because it's mellow, you know, and it's chill and people like it. You know, there's a lot of songs in the Undertale soundtrack that are quite honestly kind of mid, you know, and it's not the job of every song to be amazing. It's a very simple soundtrack and it executes itself extraordinarily well, but very few of the songs I feel like have gotten a fair shake outside of the game. Like, for example, the main battle music isn't really, it's not like people really listen to it outside of the game very often unless they're already diehard fans of Undertale, you know? A lot of the music of Undertale people don't really listen to unless they're already diehard fans of it. Like, and Megalovania is like extremely popular mostly as a meme, you know? Like, people don't really casually listen to Megalovania that often. That's a thing that I can do for another video, is like which tracks have aged the best and which ones are still popular after all of these years. And I'll say I don't know anything about Deltarune, because I kind of just don't care. I was like, Undertale was great. I don't really care about anything else. Cool, you know. I chose this one because it seemed so just universally beloved, you know, even outside of the game, and I wanted to just use it as an easy improvisational practice, and I think I did a pretty decent job. I wish I had condensed it just a little bit more, but then again, you know, I'm basically treating this like a jazz standard in this sort of thing, so 5 minutes is pretty tame for improvising over a jazz standard. So that's about all I have to say about these covers. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you're gay.